Hey everyone, James Azar here with CyberHub Engage. I've got a very, very special episode in these days of COVID-19, in the days where we're all in quarantine. There are some unsung heroes out there. You guys are seeing him right next to me on the screen. He's a great friend of ours here at the show, someone who I absolutely love, just brilliant cyber mind, Ohad ZaidenbergFounder. Ohad, welcome. A year in the making and we finally made it.
Hello. Yeah, a year waiting. I met you 1 year ago in Tel Aviv, and it's really nice to be here in your podcast today.
I know we were talking, so for a little background, last summer, for a lot of you that remember on the podcast, I took a group of CISOs to Israel. And we decided to do dinner one night in this like really awesome restaurant in Tel Aviv, in the old city of Jaffa. I'm sorry, it's Shuka
It's the same.
It's the same thing, city. Tel Aviv, Yafo. And Ohad came and he gave us an unbelievable briefing on Iranian TTPs and Iranian cyber activity, and kind of what are some of the things that are going on since then. Obviously, Soleimani's been. And Iran is dealing with COVID-19 as well. And so I decided to reach out to Ohad because Ohad started something called the CTI Foundation. And we're going to talk, the CTI League, I am very, very sorry. And we're going to talk a little bit about CTI League. But before we do that, Ohad, could you share with our listeners a little bit of your background, how you got into cyber and everything like that? That'd be great.
Okay, for sure. So my name is Ohad Zaidenberg. I'm the lead cyber intelligence researcher at Clear Sky Cybersecurity. Clear Sky Cybersecurity is a company from Israel, a cybersecurity firm from Israel that mainly focus in research of the Iranian cyber activity in the cyber domain worldwide. At the past 8 years, several of which include that I've been an analyst and commander in the IDF Elite Intelligence Unit A200. So that from then, I got into a romance with Iran, kind of a romance with Iran, by investigating it. This is a really interesting country, and since then, I'm focusing on the Iranian in many domains, in the political domain, in the terror domain, and in the cyber domain as well. I'm specializing in Iran as a strategic intelligence target. In my position in Clear Sky, again, expertise in different Iranian APTs, including Oil Rig APT-33, Charm Kitten, Shaffer APT-39, and Muddy Water. Those past threats are both regionally in the Middle East and globally, focusing in the US as well. And only recently, we exposed in the company one of the most widespread and essentially espionage establishment by Iran, as named Fox Kitten.
When you talk about, kind of Iranian cyber activity, there's been a lot of rumors that everything was kind of centralized around Soleimani, and since Trump and the U.S. military sent him on his way to Jannah, or Jahannam, depending on who you ask,
Jannah means in Arabic, right?
Yeah, Jannah and Jahannam in Arabic. Yeah, Jannah means heaven, Jahannam means hell. And if you ask, his supporters, he's in Jannah, and if you ask everyone else in the world, he's in hell. And so, kind of looking at that from that perspective, have you seen a decrease in Iranian cyber activity, or a decrease in support and funding due to Soleimani being taken out?
Actually, when Soleimani died, I wasn't shocked. I stated, as a person that knows Soleimani for 8 years and followed him very closely in the news, in the media, he was a really interesting character and horrible person to follow. And I was in shock because it was an unexpected operation when he was died. And actually, I don't see an increase by the attacking because of Soleimani's death. However, I see an increase of the abilities of the Iranian cyber threat actors in the last year. They got really, they increased their efforts. They got really better than last year's, but they still have a lot to pass through in the following years.
There's been kind of, and a lot of different intel reports that I've read prior to Soleimani's kind of being taken out. A lot of the stuff mentioned the fact that he was really the front guy in terms of helping train Iranian APTs through Russian and Chinese,
I heard about it.
and so forth. Now that he's gone, do you feel like that Russian-Chinese support is going to dwindle away because that relationship just doesn't exist? I mean, business is all about relationships, and, the Russians may not trust Iran, but they trusted Soleimani. That was a relationship kind of deal.
Iran don't trust Russia as well. 2 centuries ago, Iran and Russia had a terrible war when Iran lost and signed on a really humiliating by the terms of the Iranian agreement between Russia and Iran. It's all about interests. And I feel that regarding the Iranian cyber efforts, it doesn't matter if they have the back of Russia or the back of China, or they trying to active separately, because they are really good. They are not good compared as China and Russia and North Korea as well, but they are really good and they attack a lot. The volume of attacking by Iranian cyber threats is amazing. They have also 3 different departments of cyber, 2 of them in the ministry and 1 in the government, and 1 of them in the IRGC. So it's really interesting because they fight each other. Another thing that's really interesting about the cyber threat actors, that they are focused in Iranian people as well. They focus on some foreign ministries. So this is really amazing. You can see the same threat actors, such as Charmin Kitten, targeting Israeli researchers, and they're targeting news media outlet inside Iran. This is a really interesting country to look at it as an intelligence target.
When you look at Iranians' kind of cyber capabilities, it's been long believed that they're the ones that are training Hamas and Hezbollah in Lebanon and in Gaza with their cyber capabilities. How true is that, from what you can say, from what you know, obviously? Are they training? Are they funding and training the cyber capabilities for Hamas and Hezbollah?
So I can tell exactly what they're doing in the cyber, because this is something that is not publicly spoken before. But they are helping the Hamas, the Jihad Islamic Palestinian, and the Hezbollah all the time. Nothing to compare between the capabilities of Hezbollah and Hamas in the cyber domain to Iran. Iran have really big and old infrastructure since Stuxnet. They attack so many targets within the last 10 years, so nothing compare. Hamas and Hezbollah trying to attack many facilities in Israel, but they are not successful as Iran. Iran not so good though. It's needed to point out, Iran is not the best country of active cybersecurity and attacking of threats, but the volume, the amount of attacks that I see every year is unbelievable. They attack all the time in so many places around the universe.
Well, they believe in the law of numbers, right? I mean, it's a long set Persian story that you win by numbers, right? So increase, attack, finally something lands. They don't have to be good. You just have to wear out your opponent.
Something really interesting about Iran, they like to work remotely. If you look, for example, as you mentioned, Hezbollah is some kind of little Iran in the Middle East, that Iran doesn't need to fight with Israel directly. They have the leaders. They have the people that fight for them. In the cyber domain, it's the same. They can attack. They can gain a lot of profit by espionaging some organization to gain data. And they attack and make distractions, as they did with Shamoon and Zero Clear attacks. So they don't stand in front of their enemies. They attack remotely. And this is something that Iran really liked as a country, from what I see, from what I know about Iran.
You know, it's very interesting. How have you seen Iran's attacks increase or decrease during COVID-19? What have you seen their activity look like around, this whole COVID-19? Because Iran was one of the first countries that was hit really, really hard. I mean, before Italy, it was Iran. So has there been an increase or decrease in their cyber activities?
So the process about the cyber activity was the same as the process of the spreading of the COVID-19 within Iran. at the beginning, they reduces the attack because all the country, from what I see, there is a possibility that I don't see or I didn't identify it yet, an attack. This is really need to point out because when we exposed Foxkitten, for example, that was an operation that occurred in Israel for 3 years and nobody notified. So at the beginning, I didn't see a lot of attacks executed by Iran, but now as we're going through this corona crisis, and it seems they took the corona crisis now really seriously, now I see a lot of attacks happening again, executed by Iranian threat actors as Oil Rig and as Charming Kitten and Muddy Water.
So talk a little bit about the CTI League. It's something you found. It's something that this week Director Christopher Krebs of CISA tweeted about, multiple tweets, not one, really kind of talking about your guys' efforts and the work that you guys are doing really pro bono to help. Tell us a little bit about how you founded this division and kind of what you guys are doing nowadays in the era of COVID-19.
So the CTI League is a volunteer-led initiative of more than 1,400 vetted volunteers that are cybersecurity experts from the InfoSec and the CTI, the cyber threat intelligence sectors mostly, that form to neutralize cyber threats, targeting exploiting of this pandemic to gain any kind of profit. Profit can be destruction, and profit can be money from it. Any cyber threat we want to take down, we want to neutralize. The initiative of these collaborators conclude government agencies, law enforcement, healthcare facilities, telecommunication, and technological companies that all gather in one place to take down cyber criminal infrastructures and to protect the healthcare organization worldwide. So I founded this community only 1 month ago. It was really amazing because since the first article was published, I tweeted on my Twitter, hello, everyone that want to help. I founded this community with my friends, Nate Warfield, Chris Miles, and Mark Rogers. And if any one of you want to join to help pro bono, no money charge, the health sector, mainly we focused at the beginning on hospitals, please DM me on Twitter and we will add you to the league. And in only 1 month, we passed the 1,000 members. Now we are more than 1,400 vetted volunteers. This is something really, really amazing. As you said, we just published our inaugural report, our first report of March 2020. And to see Chris Krebs, this really interesting and important person that is the director of the CISA, to see him tweeted about our initiative, this is really amazing. And the results that we achieved to gain just in 1 month, this is unbelievable.
So for a lot of folks that are listening or watching, you can go to cti-league.com to see the website, to go there. Ohad is Twitter handle is on this video, so if you're listening, you'll see it in the description of the podcast, and you can just go to the description of the podcast and connect with Ohad on Twitter. He has a very, very interesting Twitter feed, by the way. Ohad's Twitter feed is always full of stuff on Iran, and a lot of times I go to his feed to kind of get updated because you can't find a lot of reliable sources out there in terms of Iranian cyber activities. I think there needs to be some sort of, kind of like map separation of what Iran does, what Russia does, what China does, what North Korea does, and then what the States, England, Israel, and Australia and all the others do, because it's almost very interesting how, if you look at that, people always think of the threat maps with the launching of attacks, but there's so much more to it. It's fascinating. When you look at the CTI League, what are some of the attacks you guys have seen take place against healthcare industry, and what's some of the I guess the most pressing challenges that healthcare facilities are dealing with in this pandemic from a cyber perspective?
The amount of attacks during the last few months that leveraging the corona crisis, either it's like decoy documents that trying to share information about the corona crisis and infect computers, whether it's attacks against hospitals or vaccine laboratories. If you mentioned Iran, a few weeks ago there was a report in Reuters blaming Iran for attacking some medical places within the US, including the WHO, that mostly focusing of research this pandemic. So we see that as well. But when we established this community, we focused on hospital. And we understood later on that hospitals, it's not the only victim in this community. Everyone that got attacked because of the pandemic, or everyone that is under threat because of the pandemic within the cyber world, within the cyber domain, need to be protected. And this is the goal of the CTI League. The CTI League prioritizes efforts in helping hospitals and healthcare facilities and protecting their infrastructures. By that, we see all the types of attacks, and this is really unbelievable. All types of attack. It can be an attack by malwares to steal information, some espionage operation. We see some phishing, for example, websites and email attachments that try to attack and steal credentials. For example, we see DDoS attack. We see some ransomware attack. We see a lot of scams and frauds, mainly in the darknet, that try to sell vaccines or tests of the corona crisis. And just to clarify the meaning of selling fake tests online, this is really can be cause life death. I mean, when someone sell, for example, a test online and someone bought it and it got negative by the test and got out from his apartment, start walking around because he feels, when he knows, he thinks that he's not sick and infected others, it can cause death. If some, for example, threat actor that operating some ransomware attack hospital, and the hospital wouldn't be able to pay for them, as happened in Travelex. Travelex took 3 weeks almost to recover from the attack. People will die, and the CTI League tried to prevent it. So we see any type of attack executed by threat actors in this time period. It's really unbelievable.
Yeah, the Travelex story that you brought it up is very interesting because they just put themselves up for sale this week. Apparently, their ransomware attack combined with no one traveling anymore and having the need to exchange money has really taken a toll on this company. And for those who don't travel internationally, I don't think there's one airport that you go to in the world that doesn't have a Travelex in it. They're
and
everywhere.
If you go to your if we're talking to, I'm guessing that we are talking mainly to American crowd.
We have a global crowd.
We have a global crowd? Okay,
we do.
So if you look at our inaugural report, you can see that we found vulnerabilities in more than 80 countries around the world, worldwide, some of which are not taking active part in the CTI League. In the first month, the CTI League prioritized identifying of vulnerabilities within the hospitals, healthcare facilities, and their supporting organization as the telecommunication companies. We found in only 1 month more than 2,000 vulnerabilities, 136 vulnerabilities per day in average, in more than 80 countries, worldwide. And some of the vulnerabilities were so severe that we needed to call or to escalate it to some law enforcement agency to call to outreach the specific organizations. Now think what would happen if some threat actor attack by ransomware or by even DDoS attack the servers of hospitals. People will die, and this is what we're trying to prevent within the CTI League. This is the amount of attacks is unbelievable.
When you look at the threat actors that are behind this, is it predominantly threat actors that are unaffiliated, meaning gangs, or is it some nation states? Is it or is it just some script kiddies?
All of them. We identified some phishing domains, for example, that I saw that are not professional and really something that someone downloaded from GitHub and ran just to get profit and put it, for example, the symbol of some healthcare facilities. We saw some more sophisticated attacks by criminals or by APTs or by nation-state sponsored threat actors. We see everything that try to leverage the corona crisis, actually to help countries that, for me as an Israeli, I can't go to, and to collaborate together to prevent this attack. Something that's really important. We see any types of threat actors in this crisis.
Well, the corona doesn't have a border. COVID-19 has no borders. Cyber has no borders. And the threat actors will attack anywhere where they think someone is going to pay them money for what they do. And you're right. I mean,
and we know that people paying. We saw just in the news a few days ago what happened in the Czech Republic, and this is really horrible because they got attacked by so many threat actors. Causing stealing money, causing threatening of sensitive information. You know, a lot of people are working remotely right now, and there's a lot of information that go through unobfuscated methods. So this is really important to have one group or several groups that focus to reduce this threat.
It's fascinating because when this whole COVID-19 crisis really started taking place, and I mean, not the spread of it in November, December in China, or the subsequent spreading of it that we saw in, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, early on, Iran. But we look at it now, today. It's all over the States. It's all over Europe, parts of South America, parts of Africa. A lot of these countries, and many of them, just don't have the infrastructure, and some of them don't even have the knowledge to deal with these cyber threats. So how are they touching base with you? Are you guys touching base with them? How are you guys sharing threat intel and helping eliminate these attacks?
In order to understand it, we need to speak about the CTI League's volunteer. First of all, we spoke about our membership growth, but if we are looking at the membership distribution, as the CTI League, as I told, is a community that's based on volunteers, and in our first month, this is a global problem, the COVID-19, so the CTI League must be a global initiative. Our volunteers are based in 76 countries, covering 22 time zones. Every time I try to send the message for all of the volunteers, I've got a notification, hey, you are going to send a message for 22 time zones, are you sure? And this is really important because every moment in the CTI League, we have at least one volunteer that is awake and can help the medical sector. With that, we have 76 countries that represented within the league. We are not collaborating with countries that are under sanctions of the US or are in direct war with Israel. It means that, unfortunately, we don't have members from Iran. But we have members from all continents except Antarctica, and if you know someone from Antarctica. So
it's on my bucket list to visit.
Yes. I'm just kidding. We have members from all the continents, and most of them are from the CTI sector, but 1/4 of them is from the IT sector. 10% of the people within the league are from government institutes and organizations worldwide. It means that we can reach, if not only the CISOs of hospitals from Israel are taking part of the league, but we have good connections with people from Israel, from the authority of cyber in Israel, for example. We have in Europe, we have in Africa, in Far East Asia, and of course in the United States, as you mentioned, Chris Kreb. We are in direct connection with the law enforcement agencies. By that, we can reach any organization worldwide, and we are notifying them. One of the most efforts that we are spending time of is to triage information to the medical sector. So it means that if we found vulnerability, for example, or some attack targeting specific organization, we can notify them, or by having them in the community, or by having some of their country, mainly CERTs and governmental institute within the league. So we can reach any place almost around the world, and this is really may give me powers to continue to reach more countries, more places that we can help in.
You brought up some unbelievable statistics. 1,400 volunteers from 76 different countries, 6 out of the 7 continents you guys have people in. Are you seeing different challenges in remediating and preventing these from different regions, or are the challenges fairly universal?
the challenges are fairly universal, as you said. I want to share some a private story of mine that really inspired me. I don't know. I wish the crowd, the audience, to understand it. One day I got a DM message from one of the people, one of the volunteers from some Arab country that we are not in direct connection with Israel, not a formal one. And he said, hey, I'm from governmental institute, from governmental organization, and we are getting attacked right now by DDoS. And the origin of the DDoS is that, and they use these services. So I said to him, okay, let me check. I talked with the relevant people. I understood that it's not something from a country. And then we escalated together, both to the law enforcement agency, to the relevant one, and we were able to take down this operation from the internet. As you told, we are focusing on prevention, and this is something really amazing that I found. We could stop attack of country that I wouldn't be able to go to, and this is something really amazing. We don't suffer problems in different regions. On the opposite, we are open to hear from people from different regions. We got some requests from, for example, countries in Europe that ask the information on specific way, and we are willing to share with them the information, whatever they want, if we can just notify them about it. This is really important to have a great collaboration within the community. This community is a community of sharing information, to gather all these people in one place. This is the first time, I think, that law enforcement agencies and people can collaborate together directly to prevent, from all around the world, to prevent attacks.
So we're looking at COVID-19 now. We're obviously, until there's a vaccine, until there's confidence, we live in a world where I don't think we're going to be in quarantine for another year and a half. But I think that we're going to still practice social distancing. We're still going to practice good hygiene, and hospitals have increased capacity very, very quickly. And you and I both know that there's a saying that says, if you do it quick, you're probably not doing it right. Now, as kind of things quiet down, do you see the CTI League kind of helping organizations? Because it's expected that around June, July, things are going to pretty much flatten out globally until flu season comes back October, November. Mm-hmm. And then there's going to be an increase again. And who knows, we might be spending Hanukkah and Christmas in quarantine. It might be just quarantine during the holidays. And that's great because it saves you money on presents and having to host people. And
you know that in Hanukkah, nobody buys presents.
Well, you buy presents for the kids, man. And in Israel, you're right. Because in Israel, I never got gifts for Hanukkah. Like, you'd get the chocolate coins.
The chocolate coins. That's
right. It. But in the U.S., because Hanukkah's typically around Christmas time, you're forced to buy kids presents. Because otherwise, they're looking at Christmas and they're going, oh, so I hate being Jewish. Like, all my friends got PlayStations and Xboxes, and I get chocolate coins. So in the States, Ohad, we do buy gifts for kids for 8 nights, and it can get expensive. I have a 14-year-old daughter, as you know, and she's expensive, very expensive. It's shoes, it's clothes, it's gift cards, you name it.
For my luck, I don't know if it's a luck, but for my luck, I have only my dog currently, and I don't have children. So now we switch places. Now he's the one that taking me out, and all the time the one that taking him out. Every time that he came to me and said, he like scratching my leg and said, "Hey, I want to get out," by his own way. So I was like, "Yes, let's go out. Let's take a walk." Where I haven't been in the outside since the morning. It's really nice. But I don't need to buy my presents.
You don't need to buy presents. And it seems like, so kind of looking at that and seeing that until there's a vaccine in place, we're going to see hospitals continue to increase capacity, probably continue to upgrade their services. There's been a lot of talk about telehealth and telemedicine in remote areas. Even here in Georgia, I can tell you that we know of some counties where the nearest hospital with a breathing machine is an hour and a half away by car. So telemedicine and telehealth is very, very important, monitoring all that. and so forth. How does the CTI League plan on assisting during that period where the curve is kind of going to flatten before it picks back up again?
So I think that we made really amazing efforts in only 1 month, and we still have time to establish the community as a place, for example, after this crisis, that people can use this community as they use now, for example, to neutralize cyber attacks worldwide. There is all the time attacks that affected all the planet at the same time. The volume might be changed, but if we take an example, the Olympic Games in 1 year, this is another time that all the universe are gathering in one place and interested in one specific issue, and someone need to protect them. I don't think that I saw in my career in the cybersecurity industry, and as I've heard from a lot of people, I didn't see any place like that. I didn't see like NGO certs, United certs, that are part of the major part of this initiative is volunteering. No one can profit for it. I think that our volunteers can find a clearhouse and like trusted clearhouse to share information, to take them down, to help each other with, to assist each other with some researchers, and to get in contact with some other CTI experts. In 1 month, we showed the power when we are united as a CTI League industry, as the CTI industry. When we are united, we are power. We can make a huge change during this 1 month. 3,000 takedowns from the internet, relevant only for the COVID-19 crisis. This is a really nice number to take down in only 1 month, and we're getting bigger all the time. When we continue to grow, we can cover more and more information. For example, if you look at our report, you won't see a darknet chapter under it. In our next report, we have a team of darknet volunteers that are experts in this domain, that are digging into the darknet, and see some really, really valuable information that we shared with the relevant organization, with relevant certs, and we can protect so many companies pro bono. I'm understanding that after this crisis, a lot of people will try to protect their information and don't want really to share, but I think that we prove that when we are sharing information, when we are grabbing that information and share it with all our members, we make a change. We can notify small organizations who are probably running vulnerable VPNs, or maybe they got an open RDP or open ports and they don't know about it. We can report them. There are so many organizations that can afford firms, cybersecurity firms, which when we can help them and they affect all the people, the capacity of the hospitals now is getting bigger, and they buying a lot of computers, and someone need to protect their computers. I'm guessing that a lot of hospitals from places, smaller organizations, small hospitals can't afford to protect themselves, and we are here for them. We are here to help them, whether they need us to neutralize some cyber attacks that already happened, or maybe to prevent attacks as the vulnerabilities finding, to keep their information if we identify some leak of data or compromised credentials that can be used to attack. We can protect them. Another thing that we do in the CTI League is to handling this information as a cyber attack. And by that, we can save a lot of, to stop a lot of rumors that can affect people's life. Now the G5 campaign, for example, people ruin G5 servers, and we can change it. We can save money, we can save life. So yeah. I really hope this initiative will keep continuing after this crisis.
Well, I think this is the first wave. I think you guys are going to be much busier come fall. I have a funny feeling that history tends to repeat itself. And during crisis, no one's thinking security. People are thinking just taking care of hospitals, patients, increasing capacity. Some of it is politics, some of it is money, some of it is just you put your blinders on and you deal with the fire that's burning in front of you. You don't worry about the ones that are coming up. And when the second wave of COVID-19, and I've spoken to several people at the CDC and HHS here in the US, and we're expecting 3 waves of COVID-19. So there's going to be 3 separate global waves of COVID-19 before there's a vaccine or some sort of solution for it. And here's how they're predicting it. We're now wrapping up. We've probably got about another 65 to 70 days of the first wave. The first wave is estimated to really kind of die down by mid-June. Mid to late June. By July, we should be okay. We'll still have to practice social distancing. We'll still have to watch for our vulnerable, but it'll be much looser. We won't be in quarantine, obviously, and restaurants will still be open and there'll be increased capacity, but you'll see that every restaurant will give probably people gloves, and you go shopping, you're still going to have to wear a mask and so forth. The second wave is expected to hit around mid to late October and go until March, April, which is the typical flu season. And then the third wave is going to be the following October. And that they hope that by sometime within the third wave, we'll have some sort of vaccine in testing that can start to deal with people. So for a lot of people that are listening and kind of listen, and if you're in healthcare and you want to reach out to these guys, you really do need to reach out right now and become part of the league and part of this, because this isn't going away. We're not going to get rid of this and COVID's going to go away. And then after COVID, we're going to have something else. It's now become crystal clear that China's going to give us a healthcare pandemic every about 5 years or so. And this one's going to last about 2 years. So after this one's over, we'll get about 3 years before we get, someone in China, instead of eating a bat, will eat something else that's going to give us another set of the corona strain flu that is going to impact the world. And so we just have to be prepped for it, and the community's there and waiting. So, I mean, you kind of look at this, you guys are global. You guys are working with law enforcement, and people can go to CTI-League.com, or they can contact you on Twitter, right, Ohad?
Yes, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on our website. And even if you are a small hospital CISO that can take active part in the league, but you need our help, we have the emails for reaching out in our website. You can send a message if you got attacked, and this is a call for any medical organization, any healthcare facilities, and anyone that got attacked because of the pandemic. Reach out. We are here for you. We can do incident response if need. We can help you to improve your infrastructure, protect it. And this is really important. And if you can follow our reports online, we're going to publish some really interesting reports about trends, for example, in the darknet domain. And the voluntary nature of our work, it's what keep us all together. This is voluntarily. This is something that you are already identified something in your day job. And if you can share it with the community and protect others, this is what we want to do. I really hope people will join us because of this podcast. I really hope that we're going to be bigger and stronger, and people know that we don't get money from it. It's only for volunteering. So this is a community that's based on trust, and we need the good guys, the good fellows with us.
Yeah, I think trust is everything in cyber, and so is community. And it's absolutely amazing how a lot of people have come together. I can tell you that locally here, we've set up a bunch of people to help with just giving some advice, or just going to a hospital and talking to their IT people about bandwidth capabilities, limitations, and so forth, and just checking out, offering free vulnerability scans, helping them patch if they need patching, segmenting networks. There's so many aspects of identifying, if you're not even a CISO in a healthcare facility, because a lot of healthcare facilities, unfortunately, the smaller ones don't have a security person. They probably have a CIO or a CTO. Reach out to the CTI League. They'll help you. You'll get some much needed support. You're definitely not on your own. It's been long spoken about that healthcare really does need cyber help, and now's the time to do it, and kind of reach out and grab this group of volunteers. If you're listening and you're a threat intel guy, and you want to volunteer, you can also touch base with Ohad, right? You guys are still taking volunteers, correct?
Yes, of course. That's correct. We have 77 countries, but we want more. We want to cover all the places we can cover and help. It doesn't matter. The corona crisis affects anyone in this universe, so we need to protect everyone in this universe.
Absolutely. There should be no reason why someone passes away because of a cyber attack. If we can do something about it. Lives...
I kind of... when I thought about the name of the CTI League, the image that I had was the image of the Justice League. People that gather and they don't do the protecting of the people, for example, from the virus. But we need to watch the watchmen. Now we have in our gates, our soldiers now in this war are the doctors and the nurses. Now we need to protect them, and nobody need to be died because of a cyber attack, as you said, and people died because of cyber attacks. This is not just stealing an information. This is something way more serious than that. This is the most sensitive time in the century of our health.
Yeah, the bad guys don't stop. Bad guys see this and see an opportunity. And Ohad's leading 1,400 other good guys in trying to stop these bad guys. And so anyone who's willing to pitch in, help, or anyone who needs help, reach out to these guys. As they publish reports, we'll also be sending them out in our newsletters with links to the CTI League. Anything we can do to be a voice and help you guys out. Anytime you guys want to come on the show and talk about stuff, all you have to do, Ohad, is just send me our usual DM and we'll get it done. We'll get you guys on here talking about some of the stuff you guys are seeing. I think there's going to be a definite need to educate people on how to get involved, how to get information, and also how to share information. And I think on top of it all is how to defend the healthcare facilities they're a part of. I think if you're leading a healthcare institution, if you're a CEO, if you're a hospital administrator or a clinic, if you're a doctor with a private clinic, and you're doing telehealth, it
doesn't matter if it's in the league or not. If you can help people now, this is the most sensitive time in the medical sector. We are not the only group. There are another group, for example, the coalition that created IOC's databases, and they are shared it with us. We have a public GitHub that anyone can take a block list and allow list and to protect their organization. That made because of a survey that I made in Israel, and some of the CISOs of hospitals in Israel told me, we can't integrate MISP, and we can't take the indicators, the malicious indicators from the MISP and to block them. So I said, okay, how can you get the information? And they said, you can share it with a block list via GitHub, and I said yes. And we built a GitHub only for that. So if you have an idea for us, for any other group that's working on the cyber domain by volunteering right now, or you can do it yourself, I'm calling you to take part in this war. Take your part in this war.
There's so much to do, and everyone needs to contribute. We'll all try to do our part. That's why I wanted to have Ohad on. Actually, when we sent Soleimani to the place where fire burns, and unfortunately we couldn't get it worked out because you were so busy, man, and I'm so glad we finally got to do it. I think it's perfect timing. I love having you on. I love your Twitter feed. I love your LinkedIn feed. The stuff that you put out there is just absolutely invaluable. More and more people. I'm going to put your Twitter handle on the screen again. It's Ohad Oscar Hotel Alpha Delta Mama Zulu. Follow him on Twitter. You really want to do that. You can also follow us on Twitter at CyberHub Engage. We're in the midst of our rebranding, folks. We'll be on May 4th. We'll be relaunching with new segments, very, very new, cool stuff. So you don't want to miss that as well. Ohad, I want to say thank you so much.
Thank you
all the way over from beautiful, lovely, my second home, Israel, a country I love so much.
I love it.
You like it? I love it. I mean,
I love Israel. I really love it.
And
I just want States also. I've been so many times in the States, and I have a really good time, and I have really close friends from the States, mainly in the East Coast. Close friend of mine, but I really like Israel too.
Yeah, and I will say this. Congratulations to the citizens of Israel. After 3 election cycles, you finally have a government.
Finally we have a government.
Mazel tov.
It had to happen sometimes.
I was thinking this is going to be like an endless cycle. There's a very funny show in Israel. It's kind of like the Israeli version of Saturday Night Live. It's called Eretz Nehederet. And in one of their opening skits, they had Israel empty of people, but only 2 people still running for office. And it was a Netanyahu in a wheelchair and a Gantz with a walking cane, very, very old. And I'll never get that, because I looked at that and I was like, they may have nailed this. I don't think this is ever going to end. This is going to be an election cycle every 5 months.
That's what we felt. We felt that it's never going to happen, and now we have a government. And how life is going to be like? Because I don't really remember myself before. Just kidding. But yeah, well, it's finally over.
I will say this. Regardless of political leaning, it's always great to put politics aside. The government in Israel is a coalition government. It's not a right or left-wing bloc. It's a coalition. It represents the entire Israeli electorate spectrum. And when no one's happy and everyone's complaining, you know it's a good government.
Everybody's complaining.
Everyone's complaining. Everyone is. And kind of in looking at that, I'd say just hats off to Netanyahu and Gantz for making the tough and difficult decision of putting politics aside and coming together for the Israeli people. The Israeli people sure as hell deserve it. Israel is one of the highest tax collection countries on the planet. I remember when I had a business in Israel, I was paying way too much taxes. That's why I came back to the States. And so it was like, it's great to see that happen. And Israel has actually done pretty well dealing with COVID-19, right?
Yes, we did. We were a bit late because if we start quarantine 2 weeks before, maybe not so many people would die. But yeah, we took power on it really, really fast. And
yeah, I think Israel has under 200 deaths, if I'm not mistaken. And
we will pass it in the next few days, but yes.
Yeah, but the amount of people that are getting infected is now lower than the amount of people that are healing. So that's a great thing. More people are healing than people are getting infected. And I will say this, Ohad, this week's a very difficult week in Israel because it's so for a lot of people who don't know, and we're talking about Israel for a little bit, but we will, and I think for a lot of people who listen and always ask me on the show, like, how do you attribute the cybersecurity that comes out of Israel? I will say a lot of it is cultural, it's military, it's cultural, and cultural explains is the following. On Tuesday is a Remembrance Day, and they just had the Holocaust Remembrance Day, but now this is the one for people who have passed away in wars and terror acts in Israel. Yes. And that starts Tuesday to Wednesday, correct?
That's right.
And then on the eve of Wednesday, it's Independence Day. So you go from sadness to cheering the independence of the only Jewish state in the world in a matter of 24 hours. When I lived in Israel, I can't tell you Yom HaZikaron, you spend the day with grieving families. You visit families of people who you may have served with in the military who've passed, or family and friends. And my dad fought in a bunch of wars in Israel. And so I constantly go to visit friends of my father, because I didn't serve in the IDF. I served here. And so it was
That's going to be the first year that I won't go to my friends to visit my friend that died in 2014 war, because we can't. We can't go to. And this is really, the graveyard will be closed.
Right.
in this day,
So
for the first time ever.
For the first time in Israel's history, no one's allowed. Typically on Yom HaZikaron, cemeteries, military cemeteries are filled with people as people go. There's official state ceremonies that take place in every single cemetery in Israel. Folks, every single cemetery in Israel, every single fallen soldier or fallen victim to a terrorist act has someone representing them from the IDF at that grave, supporting that family on this day. It's
even if the family is not alive anymore, because we had a lot of people that survived the Holocaust, but they immigrant to Israel, they fought at the first war and died there, and they have no family. So there is amazing voluntary project that people, actually children in high school, that go there, put a flower and say some words, because we won't forget our fallen.
No, and that's why you see initiatives, and that's why you see the way Israelis kind of do cyber is a little different. Not to discount any other country in the world that does cyber. I think cyber is a global cooperation, very similar to the CTI League. But Israel has something very special about Memorial Day, and then on Wednesday night and Thursday, people will turn on their barbecue grills and celebrate their Independence Day. Also this year, without going to parks.
This is the Israeli story. We're starting with Passover, because Passover is symbolic for the Jewish origins of ours, that we were slaves in Egypt, according to the story. It doesn't matter if you believe the story or not. The story says you were once slaves in Egypt, and then you passed all the horrible things that happened to the Jewish people within these 2,000 years. We've immigrated so many times, we fought a lot of things, and then the Holocaust happened, and the Holocaust cost us 6 million Jews that died that murdered by the Nazis in the World War II, in the Holocaust. My family lost 23 members of the families in this war, and in 1 week we need to honor the people who fought for us and died with this fight. And this is really something that I will honor. I will honor my friends that died in the war for the rest of my life. I will always remember him. And he was a person of peace. His last words that he sent on WhatsApp was "Peace, Yaman." And this is really amazing. Only one evening later, you're celebrating the existing of the countries, the existing of what people in the Holocaust died because they had no land, no country to be in, and people died to protect it. And now we are celebrating the existing of Israel. This is the Israeli story. I really hate this time of year because I'm personally involved, as you could probably understood.
A lot of people are.
Yeah, a lot of people are.
Every Israeli stands.
The story is amazing.
Every Israeli stands for that 2-minute moment of silence when an alarm rings through all of Israel for 2 minutes. Cars stop on the roads. People just stop whatever they're doing, and they spend 2 minutes remembering those who have fallen the night of, the eve of, and then the morning of the next day. And there's inherent ability to constantly remember things that you've been through in order to not, I don't want to say repeat the same mistakes, but in order to recognize the sacrifice of the foundation of the state of Israel and what it took for this country to really exist, and now what it is, a technological powerhouse, a cyber capital, and just brilliant people that are out to help everyone.
And now, if we will return to the CTI League, I think that by overcoming the silos and the barriers that normally slow the information security down, and people can't collaborate with people that are not in direct contact with the country. For example, I know that the US, as well as countries that they are not connected with, and Israel, of course, by taking down those barriers and breaking these silos, we can make a change, we can achieve results that any enterprise would be proud of. And we did it voluntarily. And this is really something amazing worldwide now in this time period.
Absolutely. Ohad, I want to say thank you so much, man. I appreciate your time on this Friday evening. I know it's Shabbat, and so I'll say Shabbat Shalom
Shabbat shalom.
And really thank you so much for everything that you do, folks. CTI-League.com, Ohad MZ on Twitter. You can connect with me if you can't find Ohad. If you're listening and you go, I can't remember any of that, just reach out to us. We'll connect you directly with Ohad. We'll be sharing his report in our newsletter over the next few weeks, and every time they publish something out, we'll be sticking it in, and so that we'll be sticking in the link so you guys can actually go and check it out and really just see this community grow. Anything we can do to help CTI League here at CyberHub, just let us know. We stand to serve those who are selflessly doing stuff to help others that really need it right now.
Thank you very much. Thank you, James, for having me.
Ohad, thank you so much. Folks, that's it for this special episode of CyberHub. We've got a lot of content coming, especially our rebrand next week, folks. You don't want to miss May 4th, our special announcement, our new segments. So much stuff coming your way from us here. Thank you to everyone who participated in our focus groups at RSA. Thank you to Ohad. Thank you for people and for listening, watching. We'll be back with so much more after this. Until then, folks, enjoy the rest of your time here, whether it's morning, evening, afternoon, night, or just whenever. And one very, very important thing is to stay cyber safe.